Okay, you guys are live.
Okay. This is Vice Chair Rocky Raffle. I'm chairing the meeting today. Chair Fambro is having technical issues. I believe she may be present. Why don't we take roll real quick? Is that you, Chair Fambro? The phone number ending in
It is.
53?
I'm here.
Okay. Would you like to take over, or would you like me to?
I was set up in a different way, so it's reversed now. So it'll take me a minute to get back to where I need to be. Cause actually I'm on my iPhone, and I had all my agenda stuff on my iPhone, and now I'm gonna have to pull it up on my iPad.
Okay. So let's move along. Let me know when you're ready, and I will pass the virtual gavel back to you. How does that sound?
Thank you. Thank you. That sounds great.
Okay, so we are calling this meeting to order at 4:39 p.m. Tuesday, September 14th. This is the regular meeting for the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections and Voter Registration. The first item on our agenda is reading the board member oath of office. Could I ask either Secretary Shirley or Mr. Kadir to read the oath of office, please?
Adam.
All right. I do swear or affirm that I will, as a member of the Board of Elections, duly attend all ensuing primaries and elections during the continuance thereof, that I will, to the best of my ability, prevent any fraud, deceit, or abuse in carrying on the same, that I will make a true and perfect return of such primaries and elections, and that I will at all times truly, impartially, and faithfully perform my duties in accordance with Georgia laws to the best of my judgment and ability.
Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Does any member have anything to add to the agenda before we entertain a motion to adopt it? Add or modify, I should say. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I so move.
Okay. Motion by Hank, second by Mr. Shirley. And that is all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All right, that is 4 in favor and 0 opposed. The agenda is adopted. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. And so the first set of minutes that we will approve is from the August 10th, 2021 regular meeting. I will give everyone a moment to review. Okay, if everyone has had sufficient time to review the minutes, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 10th.
I so move.
Okay, do we have a second? Second from Secretary Shirley. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that is all opposed indicate by saying aye. Okay, the meetings are approved 4-0. The next set of minutes for approval on the agenda is from the special called meeting, which was held on September 8th. I'll give folks a moment to review. I do have one edit to the September 8th. Could you change my chairing to either vice chair or acting in that first line? To either, so you used acting on the first one. So maybe for consistency, we could use acting again.
I'm fine with that. Would you like that in the form of a motion to amend the minutes?
I think we can just adopt it, the edits.
Like
and
kind of a without objection kind of thing?
Yeah.
I have no objection.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
sorry, I was going to ask, like, just to be sure, is everybody else okay with that? I would wonder, Mr. Chair, if everybody else were okay with that.
No objection.
None.
Okay. Sounds good to me. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the special called meeting minutes from September 8th.
I move
so
that
move.
we, go ahead.
I just made the motion, that's all. Will I go ahead?
No, I was gonna say that, that we approve the minutes with corrections, with the corrections.
Oh, right. So
That's what I was gonna, yeah, because that would take care of everything.
do we have a Mr. Kadir, do you want to make an amendment to your motion to reflect that?
I so move with the amendment that was made with regards to the chair being changed to acting chair.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. Okay. Seconded by Chair Fambro. Let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The ayes have it. Let's the September 14th minutes are approved. Okay, so the
September
next,
8th, September 8th.
excuse me, sorry, I was 14th. It was,
I know. Yeah.
no, I'm wrong. Today is September 14th. The minutes that we approved were from September 8th.
Right.
Yep. Okay. So now is a good time to pause. Are you ready to take over the meeting, starting at item B on the?
I am, and thank you so much, Vice Chair. So at this point, we'll be going to public comments. I did notice that we had one public comment. I'm unable to go to it now, from Jacqueline Eisner. Can someone please read that?
I'm happy to, unless somebody else would prefer to. All right. So the email that I have from Ms. Elsner reads, Dear Chair Fambro and members, sorry? Okay. Dear Chair Fambro and members of the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections and Registration, thank you for preparing these 3 forums for our county political parties, our elected officials, and the general public. I wish to ask Board Member Mrs. Till to encourage attendance by our State Senators Calzert and Ginn and our State Representatives Gaines and Wiedauer at the September 28th session for elected officials. Mr. Raffle can encourage Representative Fry's attendance. If they attend and their questions are answered, they can stand behind our election results. You, the board, and our election department staff work diligently to ensure the integrity of Athens-Clarke County elections. For the health and safety of attendees at each of these forums, I appreciate your encouragement for everyone to follow CDC guidelines. I figure you cannot require attendees to show proof of vaccination, nor can you require masks. You can set up the chairs for social distancing and invite folks to behave in a manner to keep their fellow citizens and themselves free of COVID-19. Signed, Jacqueline Elsner.
Thank you, Secretary Shirley, and thank you, Ms. Elsner, for your commentary. At this time, we will have the director's report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you all. I will start with our activity report. According to our records, we now have 77,507 voters registered in Athens-Clarke County active, but our total registered voters is 81,916, which is 216 more voters than we had last month. We have 72 cancellations. 21 of those are felony removals. 50 are from vital records verifications, and one a voter requested to be removed from the voter list. Let's see, we created 64 IDs and issued 64 IDs, voter IDs this month, 20 more than what we did last month. Do you have any questions on the activity report?
No, thank you.
All right, I'll move on to item number 2, which is the voter education project agenda. We will be conducting a voter forum on the 16th, which is this Thursday. And that voting forum or election forum will be from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Bobby Snipes Water Resource Facility. At this particular forum, we will have presentations coming from me and the staff related to the voter registration rolls, what happens when we enter the voter registration applications into the system, and as it relates to registration deadlines and giving credit for voting to avoid double voting. We will also have a segment on advanced voting process, the absentee voting process, observing the tabulation and the security of absentee ballots and the mailing of absentee ballots, how a voter applies for an absentee ballot, all of the different notices and advertisements that are required of us by state law. We will also have a segment on in-person voting on election day and how it ties in with poll watchers and provisional voting. We will also have a segment on elections results and accumulations of the votes and audits, post-election processes as it relates to canvassing and computation, the provisional ballot confirmation process, and certifying the election. Again, that's going to be for the political parties. And prior to us in doing any of our forums, we will have an objective that we will share with the public. And again, these forums, I know we have it advertised. These are open to the public. But again, our first forum is on September the 16th from 6 to 8. And limited seating, of course. And that's due to COVID. Then on the 23rd, we will have a community forum at the Athens Regional Library from 6 to 8. And that forum will consist of voter registration, absentee voting, advanced voting, election day, provisional ballots, and how the Senate Bill 202 ties into all of these different areas. And we will also talk about poll workers, how a person can get involved in the electorate process. And then on September 28th will be a presentation or forum for the elected officials. We will go back to the Bobby Snipes Water Resource Facility from 6 to 8. So all of our forums are from 6 to 8. And in that particular forum, we're going to talk to our elected officials about qualifying and those processes, about absentee voting and advanced voting, voter registration, tabulation, how we tabulate our votes and accumulate our vote totals for our county, and of course, provisional voting. And we will also have during these forums a time for like a roundtable discussion of Q&A, just to give an opportunity for everyone to ask some of those questions that they've been sitting around holding on to for years. And we're going to also include in our, I'm sorry, I forgot this part, but in our voter education forum, we're going to also do a little segment on the elected officials and kind of a synopsis of what they actually do. Just a brief one. Yes, so that's what I have for our forums.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Then for item number 3, we're certifying the candidates for the city of Winterville. So during the qualifying of candidates, we had 3 candidates to qualify for the 2 seats, but 1 candidate resigned or withdrew its name and decided to run for the special election, which is to fill the unexpired term of Mary Quinn, and who resigned on her seat. And we had 2 people qualify for that seat. So we will have an election. Ballot proofing has been completed. We're now waiting to receive our ballot packets from CES, from the Center of Elections, and we'll be ready for our LNA. Our LNA will begin on, somebody help me out with my date. September 23rd.
22nd. 23rd.
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm going
The
to mute my mic.
23rd at 10 a.m. And that will be to 3 p.m. And I believe board member Kadir, I think you're going to come over and help us out with the LNA process.
Absolutely. I already confirmed it to Lainey the other day.
That is wonderful, because we want to have a board member present. So that would be great. And voters can, or the community can go in and register to watch the process online. And if they want to come in person, they can register in person. And again, it's limited seating or for observing as well due to COVID. So we want to definitely keep that in mind when we're having our LNA process. I see a hand.
Sorry, quick question, Director Shosby. What was the date and time again? September 23rd, and then what was the time?
10 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day, and we will continue until completion. And that will take place over at the Lexington Road location, 2555 Lexington Road at Facilities Management.
Wonderful. And then if people want to sign up, is that going to be through the website, or can they email someone from staff?
They have to go through the website.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And advertising we've already started getting ready for advertising. Per state law, it has to be advertised 5 days prior. So that advertisement will start on the 18th. And that is Saturday. Yes. All righty. Item number 5. An update on our recent conference, which was held at Jekyll Island, August the 29th through September 1st. And multiple members of our staff and our board was able to attend, and it was just so great to look out and see all of you. It was a wonderful conference. It was the second institute of the Georgia Association of Voter Registration and Election Officials. We had 450 in-person attendees and
Wow.
120 virtual, so total of 570 attendees.
Wow.
And I might add that everything was just perfect. Everybody is well and able to talk about it today. And my understanding, I haven't heard of anybody else that is dealing with any illnesses or anything. I think there was a lot of guidelines that were taken as far as COVID's concerned. There were stations everywhere that had hand sanitizer. And I mean, it's some who wore masks, some who did not, but there was a lot of social distancing, I think, you could see. from where people were sitting as far as the sessions were concerned. And then there were other little breakout areas that people could go into if they felt if they needed to, separate a little more. And just to go over some things that we learned at the conference, or that was some good takeaways. On Monday, we had new legislation by Ryan Germany from the Secretary of State's office, and he went over the Senate bill, which was very helpful, Senate Bill 202. I think every time I get in the presence of someone with that bill, I learn a little something more. So it was good to just hear that from the attorney standpoint. That was very good. Lynn Ledford from Gwinnett County gave a presentation on the open records request, and some good takeaways that I got from that was to make sure that we adhere to our retention schedule and not keep anything beyond its life cycle. It was good to hear that. Qualifying for the 2022 elections was given to us by Breonna Thomas from the Secretary of State's office. And one of the things that I wanted us to at least highlight is that the parties should notify us if they are going to conduct their own qualifying. And so I'm going to try to make contact with the parties in December so that we know in advance if the parties are going to take their qualifying for the March qualifying period. Another session was working with municipalities, and Andrew Harper from Troup County brought that particular subject, and he talked about his agreements that he had with his municipalities and such. And then Holly Smith from the Georgia Government Transparency and the commission, Ethics Commission, Holly Smith, she gave a good presentation. And then on Tuesday, redistricting was brought to us by Jenna Wright from the Georgia Reapportionment. And hopefully we'll receive our maps soon and can begin, working on some of the districts with our commission and Board of Education. But usually the maps are available during the regular session so that they can be voted on in the General Assembly. So we hope that everything will work out in its timeline. I also took away from there that just from the past 2011 and 2012, 91% of the counties end up redrawing their maps. So it's possible that our maps could be redrawn after they do the redistricting process. List maintenance, and Eric Blake Evans had went through a good bit of what that would mean for us. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see and watch it unfold as other states have found it helpful and successful. So I think it's going to be a good thing for Georgia. Absentee voting, Breonna Thomas came back again along with Milton Kidd and talked about the new changes in our Senate bill. Or the Senate bill where it talks about absentee ballot requests, that they shouldn't be received no earlier than 78 days, and that we would not accept any absentee ballot applications 11 days prior to an election. And then some changes like the name, address, and driver's license, or the numbers on their ID cards for those who apply for an absentee ballot. And if they don't have a driver's license, then they would use information that we have on our voter registration application forms. They talked about third-party applications, receiving applications from third parties. And then there was the checks and balances that Carol Hurd from Decatur County and Lacey Dunn and Sherry Hamilton from Paulding County, where they talked about the importance of matching your numbers every day, the total number voted versus the number of voters on your voting machines. Tuesday afternoon, Breonna Thomas came back and talked about poll watchers and how the Senate Bill 202 made some changes, and that poll watchers would have to complete training, and that training would have to be given by the entity that actually appointed them or designated them as the poll watchers. Another interesting topic was the difficult situations with Dr. Polanski with Polanski and Associates. I think that was a real good presentation, and some of the things that I walked away with was that everybody desires to be important. No one wants to look stupid. Be confident and protect your credibility. Was one of the things that Gabe Sterling talked about with strategies of dealing with groups and media. So the afternoon was kind of like hot topics and difficult situations and strategies dealing with, with groups and media. So that was real good. Very knowledgeable. Let's see, Deb Cox on Hot Topics talked about her polling place surveys and the poll worker recruitments, her ballot duplication process and staffing. Lisa McGlone from Clarke County represented very well. Talked about how we deliver our equipment and the process that our former chair had established with us before, while he was with us, Jesse Evans. So that was good to use that again. Then Joseph Kirk came and talked to us about risk limiting audits. And talked about the difference between recounts and audits, that audits are not legally requested. I think that's what I meant to say. Yeah. But recounts have to be requested. Audits are not. And audits are simply just to determine that the right candidate was declared. It's not to like go back and recount ballots and all that. It's just to make sure that the right candidate was declared for a specific office. Then we came back on Wednesday and had What's New at CES with Michael Barnes, and he talked about the ballot building process and the proper way of proofing ballots and reports, the ballot building timeline, and for the ballot information for the ballot for 2020 for the primary election, gave us the deadline for that, and talked about ballot imaging and the proofing package. And then Jess Cohn from CISA talked about the security management and cybersecurity, which we got a good bit of that in Arizona. But that was just a quick walkthrough of what we had and received at our conference. I think it was a very good conference. And first time we had to do one that was hybrid, where there were some virtually and some that were in person. And I've heard from some of the virtual attendees who said that if we have a conference again, they would definitely choose virtual. So I was real pleased with it. Serving as one of the co-presidents, I would say that it was a pretty good conference. And I hope y'all enjoyed it and got something out of it. Okay, that was a lot. Any questions? Because I know y'all had asked that I do kind of a briefing on it. So
I did
Yeah,
have a
and we'll,
oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
Rocky.
Do we
Go ahead.
need, switching to one of the other topics you discussed, do the political parties need representatives for a vote review panel or observers for Winterville? I'm guessing no, because it's nonpartisan. But do we need anyone?
no, you won't. And like you said, it is a nonpartisan election. So you won't.
Okay. How do we assemble a vote review panel then, even though it is a nonpartisan? What criteria do we need to look at for that?
So the panelists are appointed by the chief superior court judge. And so we'll contact our judge to get those appointees.
Okay. Does the board need to have a representative like last time to fill out that review panel or not?
I will have to look at that. I believe so. But I'll check the code section on that.
If so, we are probably not prepared to do that now. And would that need to be in place prior to the next? There's not another meeting before that election, is there? Or enough? Well,
Yeah,
early
there
vote.
is.
October?
Yeah, there is one.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, and I do believe that there is one that has to be appointed by the board in a nonpartisan election. 21-2483 is where I'm looking. In a partisan election. I'll have to get back with you on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, here we go. In a nonpartisan election, the panel shall be composed of an election superintendent or designee thereof and 2 electors of the county. Yes, so it will be one appointed by the board.
So we could choose to appoint someone or select someone amongst us to serve as that person.
It would be my suggestion to appoint someone rather
Right.
than choose someone from the board.
But I know we've done it both ways before. At
Yeah,
least since I've been here.
I'm thinking because Senate Bill 202 is, to me, has put a little more responsibility on us that I feel we are going to need to be, or the board as well as staff are going to have our hands full without serving on the vote review panel.
Okay.
With making sure that everything is done properly, and that would be my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next item is the FY22 Board of Elections budget update. And what I have here as of July 31st, I'm sorry, August the 17th. Yes, we have completed 8% of our budget, and our original budget is $1,008,473. And we have exhausted 8% of that total budget. And you have the breakdown that was given in your packet.
Thank you.
Have any questions on that? Okay. Number 7, today we started interviewing for our 1 full-time elections assistance position. And we started advertising August 30th through September 8th. And again, our interviews started today. I said September 1st through the 16th, but they started today. We had 4 candidates that were, I'm going to say, approved by the HR system. And so we plan to interview the 4, but it was reduced to 3 today due to one that did not show. And then the start date, our potential start date for this position is September 27th. Let's see, open records request, you have those copies in your packets. And that's all I have. You have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Director Soulsby. Again, an excellent report. And thank you for the additional papers that you gave us that we could go back and look over. And if there are no more questions, we will head into old business.
I have a quick question.
Okay, Hank?
Have you, this is to the director, have we sent out an invitation to the elected officials to attend? And if so, how many, have any of them confirmed, any of them declined as of yet?
We're sending those invitations out this Friday. But we can update you as we find out more.
Okay.
Maybe we could send you an update next Wednesday, and then send you one maybe the following Wednesday, see what we come up with.
Okay. Are we also sending it out to our U.S. Senate? I mean, I know they are very, very busy, but they are part of the state elected officials.
At first, I wasn't going to, but I think I will.
The best they can do is decline. Because you are
Exactly.
sending it out to the US House of Representatives, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We were just gonna do state, but we're gonna do the U.S. House and U.S. Senate. Yes, sir.
And then, okay. Who knows, they may send a representative.
You're right.
Thank you, Hank. Thank you, Director Soulsby. We'll begin with old business. And the number one thing is update from Attorney's Office regarding candidates' filing fees.
Lisa, did you want to do that or would you like me to do it? Sorry, we didn't coordinate this.
I can do it. Let me just pull up that information really quick.
Sure. And while she's doing that, so I know Lisa sent out a document describing that all to you all. So I don't know if anyone has any specific questions or if you just want us to review that.
Yeah, actually, so the public can have purview to that information.
So I believe the issue that came up in a July 13th Clarke County Board of Elections voter registration regular meeting regarding the share of qualifying fees paid to county parties. According to OCGA 21-2-131C, qualification fees are distributed based on who the fee was originally paid to. If the fee in a primary race is paid to the county or state political party, then that's who it determines who will or how much will be kept. The qualification fee for all other candidates are paid to the superintendent or the secretary of state. If the fee was originally paid to the county political party, then 50% would be retained by the political party and 50% would be sent to the superintendent of the county. That's pursuant to OCGA 21-2-131C1. If the fee was originally paid to the state political party, then 75% is retained by the state political party and 25% is sent to the Secretary of the State. That's under subsection C2 of the same code section. If it was originally paid to the superintendent of the court, then 50% is sent to the state executive committee of the appropriate political body and 50% is retained by the superintendent. If a person qualifies with the election superintendent, then the 25% is sent to the state executive committee of the appropriate political party and 75% is retained by the superintendent of the county. If the qualification fee is paid to the Secretary of State, 75% is sent back to the appropriate political party and 25% is retained by the Secretary of State. And lastly, if the qualification fee is paid to a superintendent of a municipality, then 50% of the fee is sent to the state executive committee of the appropriate political body and 50% is retained by the superintendent. Then there is a qualification fee distribution chart contained on the memo that was sent to the board that just kind of parses out in chart form where those fees go and how much is retained by each party.
Hi, Lee. This is Rocky. Thank you for putting that together. I know we had some conversations back and forth. Is the document that you sent, I believe it was yesterday or this morning, the final, I'm not sure if opinion is the right word, but of the accounting of ACC on this matter?
Sherry, do you want to answer that?
My apologies. I was distracted for a second. Can you repeat that question?
So Lisa had sent to us just the summary that she just basically just read to us. Is that is that the opinion of the county then regarding that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the state law.
Okay. Okay. That is all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions on that agenda item? Thank you all for the information. Number 2, law enforcement quick reference guide. And I think that this is something that I might have missed. I'm trying to get into the meeting that was going on, and I might have been having technical difficulties. So, does anyone, staff, do you all know about the quick reference guide, and what is that all about?
Okay, Willa, I can help you with that. It's something that we're
Okay.
putting together for law enforcement who would possibly come out to a precinct and have to deal with a conflict or an issue that happened there, so that they would, because election law is a little bit different, and they would deal with people a little bit differently than maybe they would in another situation. So I know you're on your phone, so you probably can't see what I'm doing, so I won't hold it up, but it's basically a little pamphlet that lists critical information that they need to know, where all of our voting precincts are, where our early voting locations are with their addresses, and a list of 6 of the main laws that they would probably be dealing with the most if they were called out to a precinct. And then our contact information and what to do if they need to discuss something with us.
Ooh, my temperature went up about 10 degrees when I heard that.
Why?
Personally, I want law enforcement as far away from the polls and the precincts as they can get, especially in the Black and brown community. And I don't remember us having any difficulties in any of the areas where the police have been called. I may be wrong. Somebody bring me up to date if I am. I hope we don't ever have to call them. But I would hope that they would be courteous enough to deal with everybody in a respectful manner without being prompted. It's like we're telling them you don't know how to act, or you're not really going to have a good reaction with. So we need to tell you, some things. I would hope that respect would be the abiding factor. I mean, that's just my opinion.
I can give you input to why we started this. Election security last year and the security of the poll workers and our safety was in the front of everyone's minds because of threats that certain counties were receiving. And so officials, I think I got this originally from a county in California, Orange County, California, that had produced this so that they would have a good working relationship with the police department, because our rules are a little different and we want them to understand, exactly what does it mean if for some reason, and we don't expect that it's going to happen, but for some reason that they get called out because someone won't remove their campaign material within 150 feet of the building. They need to understand what that rule is so they can understand how to mitigate the conflict that they might be walking into, and how to de-escalate that situation if they walk into something that's already a little bit heated. So that's what this is about, so that law enforcement can understand where we are in elections right now and how they can help us and what they might be encountering if they go to the precinct.
I got a problem with it. I'm sorry. Somebody else might want to weigh in on it, but I got a problem with it.
Yeah, Chair, if I could say a few words, I have a few questions.
Yes, Rocky. Yes, Rocky.
So, first of all, I appreciate the idea from staff. I don't like anything that appears on the surface as inviting the police to the polls. So I'll just start with that. But my 2 questions are more of a procedural. If there's an elections-based issue an ID fraud, and I'm just making these things up, ID fraud, someone voting twice, da 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 da. It's my understanding that the Secretary of State inspectors, that falls under their jurisdiction. Now, if there's an assault or someone steals a purse or something like that, then ACCPD could be involved. Isn't one of the provisions in SB 202 a new fraud hotline or something to that effect? I would imagine if we called into that, or the poll manager did, the Secretary's office would dispatch one of their folks to deal with that issue. I know they're not going to respond as quickly as ACCPD. That's kind of my opinion on it. It's not really ACCPD's role in elections, unless someone steals a purse or assaults someone or some kind of other normal misdemeanor crime. I know that was a lot, and I don't know, that was kind of a question. Maybe Charlotte, you could speak to the jurisdiction part of the inspectors, I guess, to kind of summarize what I was saying into a question.
Yes, so Senate Bill 202 does set up a hotline. Now, this is not anything that's related to fraud. This is only for safety reasons for our poll workers and for us, as well as you. If you are called, if we have to call you as a board member because there is a ruckus going on at a precinct, and then you go over there and you can't handle it. You can't resolve the issue. I can't resolve the issue. So we've got to be able to talk with our local Athens-Clarke County Police Department, and they need to be able to understand that there are certain laws that are different than normal, like Lisa said. But this is us being proactive, that if something happens, then we have something in line. This is not us putting police at our precincts to do anything, or this is just if something happens, we're all on the same page. And they know their role, we know our role, and it's played out in that way.
Let me ask a question. Are the poll managers that we're going to have and the assistant managers going to be knowledgeable about that section and knowledgeable enough to talk intelligently with the police if they are called to the polls, rather than sending them some information out? Because if they do have to be called, then I would think that the first person that they would talk with would be either the poll manager or the assistant manager. And I agree with Mr. Raffle. If there's some kind of crime going on, then quite naturally that would be the police. But I don't think that they would need a heads up, especially if we're educating our poll workers and our poll managers in the manner that we're supposed to be, educating them. And I really do have a problem. It seems like that whether it just appears like that's an invitation. And I don't want anyone in my neighborhood or any other neighborhood feeling like that when they go to the poll that there may even be police at the poll. Our history as Black and brown people, our voting history, it just kind of leaves a little bad taste in my mouth. The idea of it, it may be a good idea, but just the idea of police and voting day in police, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And as I look, and is this really, really necessary? And can you specifically tell me just pinpoint one thing that could happen where the police, within the laws that we have now, the new laws that we have in those sections now, that would require us to get the police involved?
Madam Chair, I have a question and a possible solution, if I may.
Okay, okay, thank you.
So, could this document possibly be in the poll manager's toolkit, or something they could pull out and reference rather than spreading it far and wide to all the police department, because there's so many of them and so many of them come from different backgrounds. I would be afraid that the information would get lost in translation, but if the poll manager had like a quick reference, this could be the problem, this is the law associated with it, that they just keep in their notebook, that they pull out if they need that, if a situation comes. And as a side note, possibly a board member, we could divide us up kind of like we have the area managers, and we could be responsible to respond in to help resolve that situation as a possible solution.
Well, let me just add that part of our poll worker training does include laws and talks about intimidation, and different things like that. Now, if I was this board member or this particular elections director, who I know received this email threat, and I'm going to read part of it to you. We'll make, let me see if I can find it. We'll make the Boston bombings look like child's play at the poll sites in this county. Who do you call?
Well, I would probably call 911, but then I would expect ACCPD to get GBI or the secretary's investigators or other people involved. That is not me or your average patrol officer.
Exactly.
Okay, but there's
Not,
still presence of a badge. There's presence of
that's what
probably.
that's what's so frightening, is the presence of that badge, and that uniform and that police car. That's what's intimidating. That in itself, you know, if it becomes necessary to do that, of course, I think that we need to call the police. I'm not saying, but to put that out on the street to every uniformed officer,
No.
I don't think that's good karma. You know,
No.
I do know that if it's sent to the chiefs or the sheriff or whoever, then the expectation would be that they would be reading it in some formal meeting that they were having with the patrolmen on the street or somebody, you know.
Well, the handout that we have just has the laws on it, as it relates to, activity at the polling locations and the list of our voting locations. That's all it has on it. It doesn't have anything to say that you have the authority to walk in and do this or that, this is just us having a relationship with our police department. So if they are needed on election day, no, we haven't had to use them.
Yeah, I understand that, but as Rocky has said, everybody's not in the same place and of the same mindset and the same upbringing or the same lifestyle. So for me, most everybody doesn't bring, I don't know how to say this, and I don't want to be condescending. Don't walk into a situation. For me, it makes people nervous. You know, at this point, I'm nervous. And if I know I'm feeling nervous about this, then other people are going to feel nervous about it too. And I think that Rocky has a good idea about how that information should be disseminated. And, I just don't see it as a good thing to give them a minimum of information, and that the real power should lie with the manager, the poll manager, and the assistant manager. And if the police have to be called, they just a backup, and they can be told what the situation is. If it's relative to something that is going on with what the SB 202 is about right now. They can be made abreast of that, but I don't feel comfortable doing that, you know, just giving them anything. That's just where I am. We can vote on it, you know.
Madam Chair?
But, yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you could see. Are you able to see our video feed on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I just didn't want to jump in. But I have a question when you get to a stopping point.
I'm through.
I didn't want to cut you off. I'm sorry. I have a couple small questions that are coming up from this. First, I wanted to ask if Attorney Hines, and I'm so sorry, our new attorney, I don't want to mispronounce your last name, but if there's do you have any clarification about jurisdiction, like as far as law enforcement? Is there a simple thing that you happen to know from your expertise that would clarify maybe if we're getting this sideways and misconstrued about who would come out in the event of a phone call or that kind of stuff?
No, thank you so much for recognizing me. I apologize. Ms. Pappas had to step off. But, you know, I think in some ways, quite frankly, this conversation is a little bit moot in the sense, and you all wouldn't necessarily be aware of this, but, you know, our police department are very highly trained on the laws, and certainly I think we'll be preparing, as they always do, before every election. And not to say that it wouldn't be very, or arguably certainly valuable to provide this information, but I don't want you all to leave this meeting with the impression that no one is providing this information to the police department, because what we do before every election, or at least certainly before the last one, I would think we would continue to do that, is I work with either one of the captains or the deputy chiefs. So last time it was Captain Salters, now Deputy Chief Salters, and we provided guidance on all of the potential laws that existed at the time that might relate to criminal behavior at the polls. And that isn't because we're saying police go out and try to prosecute folks. And it's certainly not that that's the goal of the police, but the issue is that information is power, right? And I know that can probably be taken a couple of different ways, but what I mean here is that information ensures that we have the ability to have a good interaction between our citizens, our election workers, and our police department if everybody knows what the law is and there's no potential for confusion the day of. My concern by relying on the poll workers would be that then in a world where we weren't already having this independent interaction with the police department, you'd be concerned that you have rookie police officers responding to something because they're the only ones available and they don't know how to enforce the law. And then maybe you have a negative interaction that you wouldn't have had if people had the information beforehand. So a perfect example of something we were worried about that would be a low-key, or well, we think hopefully a low-key interaction with someone at the last election is that, you know, weapons and long guns are not allowed within 150 feet of a polling place. And that is a misdemeanor violation of the law. And we were concerned that people might try to test that from an open carry perspective. So we wanted to make sure that the police knew exactly what the distance was. You know, if people wanted to stand 151 feet out, you know, they're authorized. And that way everybody is really clearly on the same page. So I just wanted to share that to the extent that's helpful. And that's certainly our goal in working with the police department as the attorney's office to, again, make sure that everybody understands the law and is enforcing it properly. God forbid there becomes a need to do so.
Could we not continue to use that? Could we not continue to use that protocol rather than sending something from the Board of Elections and the elections office rather than sending something from us? Could we not continue to use the protocol that your offices use?
You know, there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that. I think the only downside is that your, you know, elections staff are by far more educated on the nuances of these things. And so there may be some advice that they're able to offer based on what they're hearing from other counties or even other states is things to look out for that we just haven't heard about yet. So anyways, you know, is there anything wrong with us continuing with what we're currently doing? No. But what I would just say is I think more information is always better, right? The more informed people are on all sorts of important issues, whether that's First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, or our very confusing election code, especially knowing there's been a lot of changes, I think that's always helpful.
Thank you, Attorney Hines. Madam Chair, if I may, I have a couple more small things.
Yes.
Sorry, just one or two small things. I really am thankful we're talking about this because I wasn't aware of that entire the briefing, for lack of a better term, the communication that goes on in preparation for our law enforcement already. And I know enough about our tragic history of race relations to know I don't understand, and I won't ever be able to empathize with the concern about that people of color have with law enforcement showing up at a polling place. So I want to give space for that and know that I really have to be sensitive to that. However, what has gotten my attention also is that I didn't think about this, wasn't thinking of this from a safety of our employees perspective. And so I'm really appreciating that that's been brought up. Just without going into too much detail, Director Sosby, did we ever receive anything that gave you like more localized or centralized to us that gave you fear for the safety of our poll workers last year or during the runoff?
Just from what other counties was experiencing. And I just wanted us to be ahead of it,
Right.
not panic because something's happened, but we're ahead of it. And we, and I think that's a lot of times where we mess up. We don't know what to do now that it's happened.
Right.
But because we did not have that experience here in Clarke County, I think, why not have something already in writing or a plan that if something like that does happen.
Gotcha. Thank you. So, Madam Chair, one last thing and I'll be done, I promise. Then my take on this is that I see that it's something that something's being done to address this already. It's a matter of, I now see it as a more effective way, a more nuanced way of handling this. And I'm seeing the problem we're trying to solve is in the event there is a call, an incident that results in a law enforcement officer coming out, it saves us that conversation with, hey, let me brief you on what's going on here before you walk in there. If the more they know before they walk in, the better they can handle things surgically and de-escalate things enough so that we disrupt the voting as little as possible to address the safety concern or whatever and not cause things to get out of control. So that helps me a lot. I'm really thankful for the conversation we've had. I don't know if there's emotion attached to it, but thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Not yet. But you have to understand, Adam, that's a fallacy. Unless these guys are walking around with that information in their pocket, they're not going to remember that.
It's actually a pocket guide.
The officer on the street is got other stuff to deal with. Like our high crime rate in Athens and all this other stuff. And I promise, even if we pass it out 2 weeks before the election, it's going to revert back to, they're going to have to check in with the manager or the assistant manager. I mean, that's just the reality of life. Nobody on any job is trying to learn something extra that they don't use every day. So when they get there, they're going to do the same thing they would have done. If they have this information, they're going to do the same thing they would have done anyway. They're going to check with the person who is in charge of the polls.
Can I speak to that really quickly?
Yes.
So the only thing I want to say to that is that one of the reasons that police reaches out to us is this is an area where there could absolutely be very significant litigation. You can imagine if a police officer said that someone was intimidating someone and removed them from a poll location when they didn't actually have the right to be removed, that could create significant liability for the county. So I can certainly assure you that this is a very heightened area of training and focus in the months and weeks leading up to an election. And it is hard to me to imagine any police officer working in and around a polling precinct not being extraordinarily aware of all of the different violations that might be at issue, because this is such a such an important protected right, and they want to make sure that they're protecting everybody involved, whether that's people that might want to protest at an appropriate distance or there's people who are just standing in line trying to vote.
I promise you, I rode around in the last 2 years that I've been on the board. I rode around to a lot of polls. And the one presence that I did not see was the police, period. But if people want to bring up for, you know, a vote, you know, we can do that, and everybody just vote their own conscience. That's all I can say.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
what would you think about, since my understanding is this isn't really, you know, it's an idea that is under development still, is my understanding. What would you think about if we wanted to ask Director Sosebee to bring to us a draft that they have in progress that we could maybe have something concrete to look at?
Absolutely.
Or unless the timeline that you were looking at, Director Sosebee, was to have something available sooner than that.
Lisa, can you share your timeline or what we have already?
The draft is already created, so I can send that to you immediately. And it is just a draft. And these are conversations that we were hoping that we would have. That's why we brought it to you before we did anything else. And I appreciate your comments, Willa. They're very enlightening, and I appreciate that. I can, like I said, I can get it to you immediately. Our hope was, because 2022 will be another contentious year, and we don't see things de-escalating in the way the public is. We don't see things de-escalating from the way they were in 2020. We were trying to be proactive for that and have something ready in time for the primary in May. And I would like to point out one thing, that sometimes it's not the poll worker or us that might call the police. There are things that are out of the poll worker's control. If someone in line sees something going on that they don't like or understand, they may be the one who called the police. So just consider that there may not even be a poll worker involved until the police are already there. But like you said, Willow, we haven't had that happen yet, and we hope that we never do.
Quick question for our chairperson. Willa, is there something you would like to make a motion to, on which you were thinking we could vote on? Because I'm not sure what exactly were you thinking
No,
about.
yeah. If you guys want to make a motion, that's fine. I think that Adam's suggestion of the information being sent to us so we can review it and, you know, have a real conversation, because basically we don't even know what it looks like. But just off the top of my head, the way the conversation has gone, that's the way I feel about it. I may feel differently about it once I look at it.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that we kind of table it until the next meeting and look at the draft and go from there.
That sounds good. Do we need a motion on that? Would you turn that into a form of a motion? Okay.
Yeah, I move that we table this item for
For our next meeting?
Yeah, for the October meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second?
That was Adam. Sorry, Adam seconds.
Okay. We have a motion that item number 2 be tabled until our next meeting. Is there any more discussion? Being no more discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Did I hear 2 ayes?
Oh, I said I raised my hand.
Okay.
I said aye as well.
Okay, so we have 4 votes, and that of the 4 members that are here, so it was unanimous, and we'll table this until the October board meeting.
And I just want to
Thank you.
confirm that Lisa is going to send us a draft of the
Right.
information
Right.
packet you put together. Okay, great.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, let's move forward to new business. And the first item is poll workers' pay, preserving step increases for higher levels of responsibility. And I think that, I'm sure that our poll workers did receive a raise, but there was some discussion about the fact that the managers and the assistant manager have always been paid $2 and $1 respectively. In the past, they've been paid for the additional work that they have or for the additional authority that they have. So I think that's what the discussion is about. Am I correct? Or?
Yes, ma'am. That was the concern that I think we had discussed briefly last month.
So,
Got a question. What was the previous, was it 10, 11, 12? Lisa, could you answer that, or Pam or Charlotte or someone?
I'm sorry. So you wanted to know the previous rate of pay?
Yeah, before the county changed the $15 an hour rate.
$12 for a manager, 11
Uh-huh.
for an assistant manager, and 10 for a clerk.
Okay. Thank you. Madam Chair, is the agenda item to have us take an action on this?
I do not know. It was a discussion, and as I see it, you know, when the county makes a move on a increase in salaries, you know, it's kind of like a done deal. Am I correct, or am I incorrect in my thinking?
Well, I do have another question for the director. It's my understanding that the directors of each department were also given a 2% raise for the employees within that for use. And please stop me and correct me when I'm speaking wrong, but there was a 2% raise given within the your new budget. So are we able to adjust those steps for assistant manager and manager within that 2%, or how can we work on that?
So because the way the increase was given, and it was something that was done by the commission, there's really not anything that can be done by the board right now. What I was told is the pay grades will be studied, and then from that point, we'll be able to make some kind of differentiation between the offices, the positions, so that there is a graduating pay rate. So until that's done, the poll workers will receive the same pay rate of $15 an hour.
Okay, thank you for that. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm hoping that we could possibly ask the director to go to the mayor and commission to ask for a step increase for the next election. We might want to discuss what that would be, but I'm hoping it could be 15, 16, 17.
Okay, so, and this would not happen until next year. That's my understanding from what I heard Director Soulsby say when the new budget is put in place, right?
No, it has nothing to do with the new budget. It's all
Okay.
with the pay study that they're doing. So a pay study
They're doing
is
the pay study right now? Okay.
Yes, they're doing a pay study
So-
because they're part-time employees that'll be making the same amount of money regardless of how long they've been working with the county. And so part of that pay also is involved with the poll workers. So
Okay,
it's just not anything I can do. I've talked with HR, I've talked with the commission,
Yeah.
with the city manager's office, and that right now there is nothing we can do. I was told pay everybody $15 an hour until that pay study is done.
okay. So right now, it's out of our hands, and that would be, for that agenda item, that would be the answer that Director Soulsby, that at this point, we're not able to do anything about that because of the pay study.
I spoke to one of the commissioners, and that commissioner informed me that we could go in front of the commission for a budget amendment to get that funding for those people. But I'm happy to table this till the next meeting.
I will tell you that pay raises has nothing to do with our budget, what we actually request for. Pay raises has nothing to do with our budget.
It comes from another department.
It comes from our finance department
Is the
Yeah.
pay,
and our HR department.
but aren't the temporary workers set within your budget? The pay raises apply to full-time staff only? I know that those would come from a separate bucket.
It is, but when the commissioners making a resolution to give an increase and put a flat rate of $15 per hour to bring all of our part-time people up to $15 an hour, we can't adjust their pay rates because of
Because
human resources, because of their laws. We can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I had a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
So then I guess, again, I know enough to know that I don't know how tangled this web is of how things can be made to happen or asked to have happen. Director Soulsby, if we as a board wanted to try, and I know all of us, we want to be sure that we can preserve the pay raise. We want the best of both worlds, right? We want the new pay raise for everybody, but also keep the step increases for the expertise and responsibility. I'm trying to think of the best way we can make this happen or help grease the wheels to keep this happening as smoothly and quickly as possible. Is there any amount of lobbying that we as a board could do with our commissioners, do you think, Director Soulsby, that could make this happen in time for the November 2021 election?
I'm just reading an email that I got from the Human Resources Director, and it says that that they are not surprised that there are challenges like what we have resulting from the adoption of the 15-hour hourly minimum for all ACC Gov employees. The Mayor Commission considered these issues and has approved HR study of the impact to determine where in our classification system these issues have occurred and to recommended target solutions and estimated cost of implementation for FY23. They have released an RFP to obtain independent professional services for this, among other works that are needed. So I requested that it be done and that it be done before the November election. And I was told, keep everybody $15 an hour. This is going to be studied, and then we can move forward from that point.
Understood. Thank you, ma'am. I guess so, Madam Chair. I guess what I'm struggling with here is right. There's good news for everybody, right? Everyone's getting paid. The managers get paid $3 more per hour.
Yes.
The assistant managers get paid $4 more per hour, and the poll workers get paid $5 more an hour. Everyone got a raise, but I just know that can be framed a different way, and people can take it another way. So, but that's where we are. I understand. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Soulsby.
Yeah. So I think that letter in itself has answered our question where we are, and we are just at a standstill, more or less. We're waiting on other people because we do not have anything that we can do as a board right now to alleviate that situation. And until someone else makes a move, or until we receive some information otherwise different, My feeling on the matter is that we should table it until something else changes. Because at this point, nothing has changed, and nothing is going to change the fact that everybody's going to be making $15 an hour.
Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
could we have a section where it says we do not have the authority to change the pay rates of the
Can
poll
we have
workers?
a what, Rocky? I missed one word in that sentence. Can we have a what?
Can we cite where it says that we do not have that authority to set the pay of the poll workers? I'd like to know which, if that's in the county charter or in the Georgia law or where that is.
That we do not have the authority? Or who the authority rests with?
Because I'm ready to make a motion to change it, but I
don't think we
to
have
know-
that authority, Rocky. I mean,
Yeah,
we would have to ask the attorneys
Yes.
to get some information on that, but that's just my raw gut feeling on it, that we don't have the authority to do that.
yeah, whether that is true or not, I need to know where. I'd like that to be cited to me exactly where it says we do not have that authority.
And I agree with you. That's why I said that we should get the attorneys involved and Director Sotheby and the staff, involved to say what statute that is. But it seems like that the mayor and commission are duly elected officials and hold authority over us. And in holding that authority over us, I would just assume that something that they have done, because they do hold authority over us, that it's not within our purview to be able to change that. Now,
I may be
I
wrong,
don't know
but
what
they
you
do
think
not
about
have.
law. Yeah.
I may be wrong, but
but
they do not have the authority to set individual pay rates. That's up to the individual business unit.
Can I speak to this?
Yes, please.
Sure. So in Athens-Clarke County, we have a personnel system that is established by ordinance. It's in chapter 1-9. And what, obviously I've just been quickly trying to point you to some things that might be helpful on this, but I think the main section that's relevant is section 1-9-3, which is the compensation plan. And what it speaks to that I think is most relevant is the fact that the whole purpose of setting up the compensation plan and the entire personnel system, which applies to every Athens-Clarke County employee across the departments, is that the compensation plan has to be both equitable and uniform. And so that's what, when Charlotte's talking about going through this pay study to try to determine what is appropriate, it's not just because we, considering a part-time employee in one department per se, although there may be an independent inquiry as to what's appropriate based on the performance and the job expectations of that department, but it's also about trying to ensure that that compensation is uniform across the unified government. So it wouldn't be appropriate for the Board of Elections, for instance, to say, have a policy where their part-time employees get paid $17 an hour, but every other part-time employee in the unified government only gets paid $15. So in terms of looking at this personnel system, it is established by ordinance. It's established, so I guess you'd say initially it's established by the mayor and commission, and then it's operated by the human resources department, which is under the manager's office. So I'm not aware of any authority that you have to set compensation rates for any employees. Now, certainly if you want to petition the mayor and commission to take some sort of action, I certainly think you have a right to petition them to do so. As to what might occur, that I certainly can't speak to.
So, chapter 1-9-3 is the Athens-Clarke County ordinance, or where is this found?
It's in our ordinances. So if you Google Athens-Clarke County Municode, MUNI code, it's the easiest way to get to it.
Okay. And that's where it spells out that we do not have the authority, or you're just not aware of anything off the top of your head?
So you don't have the authority. What the ordinance does in section 1-9-1 is it says establishment of a personnel system, and then it talks about how the guidelines will be established pursuant to the charter. It talks about the purpose. That compensation plan is in section 1-9-3, and it talks about how the whole purpose of this compensation plan, which is established by ordinance, is to provide an equitable and uniform system. So I'm not trying to repeat myself, but the point is that we have a whole plan that applies to everyone in the entire unified government. So around 1,600, 1,700 employees. And so that is what determines the rates of pay for different positions. And so some of you may be familiar, we just had a very large, the MAG study, MAG, that evaluated all of the positions across the government. And that was directed by the Mayor and Commission and voted upon the Mayor and Commission. So that is how the large scale changes get made. And then these sort of questions about either doing small scale pay studies or reclassifications of positions, those can happen internally, but they all happen through the Human Resources Department.
Okay. So to me, paying someone with varying degrees of responsibility the same amount of pay, not equitable or fair. And you said at the end that the Human Resources Department has that authority. So the board could make a recommendation that Human Resources make that change. Is that correct?
Sorry, I think I was confusing. The Human Resources Department is the one that implements this plan, but they are not going to make, you couldn't go to Jeff Hale and say, Jeff, I'd like you to make this individual change for someone in my department without going through a pay study or a reallocation or something else that is a process is already established to make that happen. So I think my best advice to you is that the ball is already in motion on this. They are working on a pay study. Lots of departments are in the same boat. There was a lot of dissatisfaction, as you may all be aware, about the MAG study. And there was also a lot of satisfaction in other departments. So it just depends. The sheriff and the police department and fire just finished a large pay study for law enforcement officers following that. So that's just how changes in pay scales occur in Athens-Clarke County. So I don't really have any better guidance for you than to say it is already happening. And if you contact HR, I'm sure that is what they would say.
Okay.
So the bottom line for us is that we do not have the authority to deal with that in that manner. Is that right, Attorney Hines?
That is correct.
Thank you. Are there any more comments on that item? And because if we do not, Rocky, if we do not have that authority, there's nothing that we can vote on or make a motion on that will move it along. The only thing that will move it along is probably what Charlotte told us before, is the study that they're doing right now, because this is not the only area within the Clarke County government where there seems to be inequities, and they seem to be working on that. What would be a resolution in your mind for us to knock this out off the agenda today?
I'd like to table it for the next meeting if possible.
Yeah, that's your right. You want to make a motion on that?
Yeah, so moved. Tabling this, what's the agenda item number? Under new business, item number 1, poll worker pay, to the October meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second? Did I hear
I'll second
a
that.
second?
I'll second it. Yep.
Thank you. Adam, did you get that motion down? It was actually the number 1, kind of reading directly from the number 1 item on our news. But could you put that together and read it back to us so we could take a vote on that?
Yes, ma'am. I have motion by Mr. Raffle to table this agenda item until the October 2021 meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so if there being no more discussion on it, we'll take a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who are not in favor, I think we have a majority vote of yes anyway, or aye. The 4 members present have voted aye. So we're going to table that until the October, second week in October, second Tuesday in October meeting. Thank you all. Number 2 is reviewing.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, for the record, I would like to say I voted against it.
Okay, I am sorry. I have been having difficulties hearing you all day.
That's
I don't
okay.
know.
No
I don't
problem.
know what's going on. I apologize.
Yeah. No, that's
I'll try
okay.
to cut my phone up, but thank you. So there were 3 members, 4 that was Willa Fambro, Rocky Raffle, and Adam Shirley, and 1 member against Mr. Kader.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sure our secretary has that information. Thank you all. And we'll move to the next agenda item, reviewing Article 6, Section 11 of the bylaws.
Madam Chair, I'm
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I was going to ask about, I know the next few agenda items in our new business, I believe they were suggested by Ms. Till, who was not able to join us tonight. And I was wondering if you might be interested in us. I'm sorry, you were probably going there. I'm sorry for interrupting.
I was just about to say that I see at least 1, 2, and 3 items that were recommended by Ms. Till. And if no one has any objections, maybe we can entertain a motion to move these items to our next meeting when Ms. Till may be present. I know she contacted us and said that she would not be here. But if we could move those, could I get a motion from the floor, or what do you all think about it, first of all?
Items. I only recall her wanting to discuss item number 2.
Okay. She had, I think that item resolution on all previous lawsuits against the board, I think that was an item, but Adam would probably be more up to date on that, because when the additional agenda items come in, he knows. But in number 4 and 5, I think, present state of election audit for Georgia, and number 5, am I correct or incorrect in that, Adam? Thinking that
Yes,
those were
ma'am.
items.
Yes, ma'am. The items that I'm aware of, and I'll check my email if I need to, but I believe those items 2, 3, 4, and 5 were suggested by Ms. Till.
Okay.
Could I ask a point of order?
Yeah.
A little off topic, but Mr. Secretary, when we're putting the agenda together, could we put possibly the member's name who suggested the item next to it? Does that make sense?
It does. I'm happy to, if that's what we'd like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to take ownership of the previous discussed item.
Okay. Number 2. I'm sorry. Which one were you referring to?
Number 1.
Number 1. Number 1.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's a great idea, Rocky. So I think it's really good. Do you guys think that's something that we need to vote on, or just a consensus between all of us that that's what we'll do? I think the reason that Ms. Till wanted us to discuss Section 2, we may be just a little bit off in how we're doing that right now. But again, are we going to have a motion to table those 1, 2, 3, 4 items until next meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I heard you that time, Hank. All right. So we have a motion and we have a second that we table these 4 agenda items, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 until the October meeting. And hopefully Ms. Teal will be able to be present at that meeting.
Madam
So,
Chair,
yes.
I had, sorry, brief discussion about this.
Okay.
Item number 4, I'm sorry, excuse me, item number 5 about the quorum, the quorum issue. I feel, well, actually, no, I thought I understood this pretty well before we have this lumped in to table it because it's so time sensitive with the forums coming up. Would
I
we
see what
maybe,
you're saying.
right, maybe we want to amend the motion to remove that item so we do discuss it tonight?
Yes. So the motion would say that that would be item number 2, 3, and 4. That's what the motion would say.
Right. And I guess
we would table those.
Right. And I don't want to, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I don't want to trip us up too much into parliamentary stuff, but Attorney Hines, if you wouldn't mind helping me out, may I amend my own motion and offer a substitute motion, or what's the formal way to dot these I's?
Absolutely. You can always amend your own motion, whether that's on your own motion, on your own initiative, or whether that's by friendly amendment or offer from another person.
Thank you very much. So then I would like to offer an amended motion to table new agenda items 2, 3, and 4 to our October meeting.
Second, I have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. So it's been properly moved and second. We've had some discussion on it. All those in favor of moving those to the next agenda signify by saying aye.
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 All those who would say no to that. So we have 4 members, the 4 members that are present. So we're going to move those 3 items to the next agenda. It's been approved to move them to the next agenda. And number 5, thank you, Adam, for recognizing the sensitivity, the time sensitiveness of the item number 5. And that is what law or bylaws state that the board cannot meet with 3 members or more to conduct business or training sessions. And Attorney Hines, I know we've asked you that question before, but does anyone have any additional things to ask about that? Are there particular types of meeting where that would be permissible for more than 3 members to be present? As we went to a conference 2 weekends ago, and we were all present and not conducting any kind of business. So I think that's what the members have in mind is that allowable when there's not being any board business conducted at certain types of meetings?
Well, can I speak to that really quickly?
Please, please.
Right. So what you're referring to is the fact that there is an exception to the open meetings law for statewide, multi-jurisdictional, or regional meetings. And so what that certainly intimates is like large scale trainings that occur across the state. If there was a meeting of all of the all of the election superintendents or board of elections in the Northeast Georgia region, that certainly would be something that would be exempt. But what's really, really important to realize is that in nowhere in the open meetings law is there an exception for regular local trainings or,
Okay.
and it would certainly be possible, or certainly would have been easy for the legislators to have included that, and they chose not to. And so that's the difference.
Anyone else have any questions on that? Because it was not a question for me.
I do, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Attorney Hines, thank you so much for the email. Again, like I said, I thought I understood this pretty well from the training you gave us back in December, but then reading over the email, I thought it was, I thought that we were not allowed to have a meeting unless we called it a public meeting. I'm sorry, I'll back up. Is it true that we can meet anytime we want to if there are going to be at least 3 of us on this board, a quorum, we publicize it as a public meeting, Have I got that much right so far?
And as long as the public have access to it, but I assume that's what you mean by public meeting.
Yes, ma'am. That's where I'm going with
Yes.
that. So then, as long as the public has access now, so for example, if say for example we wanted to have the flexibility for 4 or 5 of us to attend these forums that are coming up, just to cover our bases, right? If 3 of us happen to walk in the door, we have to say, "Oops, I got to step out," so that 2 of y'all are here, so that we're not a meeting, not a quorum. To cover our bases, could we say, would we have to? How far would we have to go to make it look like this right here, right? Like, could we just say it's a public meeting? Our agenda is just the education of the Clarke County voters or political parties, and we're going to be there and we'll take minutes, but there's going to be no business conducted? Or would we have to do the whole 9 yards with having Lisa or somebody have this done on camera, have an audio recording kept for our purposes? You know, how far would we have to go, or just say it's a public meeting? Here's notice. We're going to be there. What do you think?
No, that's a really excellent question. So and it's just complicated a bit by COVID. So pre-COVID, or if this was any kind of in-person meeting, what I would have suggested is to announce it as a public meeting, announce the location. The big thing is, of course, to make sure that you comply with the time requirements for whether it's a special called meeting or an emergency meeting, and what, it doesn't sound like any of this would be emergency. And then people would have the same right of access to come observe the training or whatever it is, the meeting that you all would have. And that would be how you would achieve that simultaneous access. Because of COVID, it's a little bit more problematic because you do have to offer that simultaneous access. And probably the easiest thing to do is to find some way to live stream that. And so I would just encourage you to talk to our IT department about what kind of forums you're planning to attend, so that we can figure out the best way to address that virtually as needed. But I'll give you an example if this is helpful. So we recently had, like in the last 6 months, had a meeting with another county where our mayor and commission were really interested in learning about this program this other county was doing. And we realized that we ran into a quorum issue because even though we had 4 of them, and that was not a quorum of the mayor and commission, what we didn't realize before the meeting occurred was that we had a quorum of the Legislative Review Committee, or the GOC, I forget which, but one of those bodies. So we had to have someone jump off the call. So the answer moving forward then was to schedule a new meeting where we advertised it as a public meeting, and then treated it just like this. But again, it was solely for the purpose of gaining information. I don't even know that I think we kept very minimal minutes to the extent that we did. And there was no formality of, okay, we have to call it to order and things like that, because it's just being held for a different reason. Does that help answer your question?
It does very much. Thank you. And so then, to the extent that I have a much better understanding now, Madam Chair, I wouldn't want to gum up the works with this forum that's coming out by having to work out logistics for tech stuff. So I would sooner for this just have us kind of, work it out where which 2 of us will go and nobody else goes from the board. But I mean, whatever y'all want to do is fine. But then maybe going forward, I feel freer now for us to do things together, to meet and train. We just have to advertise as a special called meeting with no real agenda. People can come and watch it, and we can live stream it, but it'll be easier when we're done with COVID.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment here?
Yes.
I totally concur with Adam, and just to make life easy, there is a slight chance that I would not be able to attend, and I know you will not be attending, and Rocky is not attending. So it looks like it's going to be just going to be Adam, and Ms. Still will be there at the meeting, which I think kind of works out for this one. Does that sound okay? Okay.
Yes.
One question I do have for Lisa is, just want to confirm, this meeting is not going to be streamed, is it? The Water Forum on Thursday night?
No, I mean, the forum is in person at the Bobby Snipes building, so it is a in-person, open to the public meeting.
Right.
If there are limits on the number of people that can be there, Charlotte will need to address that. I know there are limits when we go to the library, but I don't know if there's anything at Bobby Snipes. And so, no, we had not planned to stream it because it's open to the public and in person.
Okay, that's good. I would urge that we, at least for the public forum at the library, I would like to make that a public event so we all can go. And it's not something I would feel strongly about the one after that for the elected officials. But for the library event, if it is not too much redoing all the work that you have already put in, is that a realistic possibility?
Yeah,
So
I
we could
think
all attend.
logistically, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Hank. I think logistically, we're probably not going to be able to deal with the logistics in the library and get the IT team up and running enough to do that. I may be wrong. I don't know. Maybe we have to check with them and see, but that's just how I'm thinking and feeling about it now.
Okay.
And they possibly could do it. You know, they have 2 meeting rooms, at least 2 that I know of. They have more than that, but the auditorium, and they also have a side room, and they have some other smaller rooms. But the auditorium is the biggest thing that they have over there.
Right.
I would think that with the information that we do have and that the attorney and staff has provided us with at this meeting that's coming up, I think, as you said, Hank, that it won't be a problem because there have some other things come up with some of our members, including myself, who won't be able to attend. And I guess if we could ask the staff to check on the meeting at the library with the IT staff to see if it would be logistically possible to do anything about that. And if not, then we as a board know that we have to act accordingly and probably decide which of the 2 members would be present at that event. How are you guys feeling about that?
I have already, I think, submitted my suggestions on which 2 should be attending for each of the 3. So it comes out nice and simple.
Okay.
But yeah, I would like to ask the staff if they can check with IT for the library one. I just feel the presence of all the board members at that one, and we don't have to be together. We don't have to be discussing anything. We just are there in the room to show that we are present. Might make a slight difference, but if it is not something that's logistically possible, it's not something I feel that strongly about.
Okay, so my understanding is that if the staff can check on this, and when they do check on it, if it's not possible, then we already have our answer that we will proceed accordingly to what we've been advised. Is that a good resolution for this particular item?
Yeah, and I think
Everybody?
through email we can confirm who are the folks who will be attending each of the forums. So that's not something we need to spend time here today at the meeting.
Okay, so that item is resolved.
Yes.
Thank you all. So the next item and the last item on the new business is advanced voting hours and location to the November 2021 election.
I believe that item was suggested by Mr. Raffle.
Yeah, hi. Do we have a recommendation first from the director on early voting locations, first of all? In the past, you've provided a recommendation.
Yes, I apologize. I do not have a recommendation, but I'm going to go off the top of my head. Let's see. For the advanced voting locations, we have verified with the following locations. Pull up my form here. that will provide us space for advanced voting. So of course, we would start here at our office on October the 11th at 8 a.m.
Okay, hold on just a moment. I'm pulling up the calendar so I can follow along.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind. Okay, go ahead. You said
So
October.
at 8 a.m. here
Okay.
at our office from till 5. And then we will begin Saturday voting on the 16th and the 23rd from 9 to 5 per Senate Bill 202. The additional locations that we would like to start early voting at, did we start on Saturday? On Saturday, the 23rd through Friday to the 29th at Athens Library, the Extension Office, Miriam Moore, and the Tennis Center.
And I'm sorry, which day would those early days begin?
Those would start on the Saturday, the 23rd, from 9 to 5.
Okay.
And then the other locations, yeah, they will continue 9 to 5 every day.
Okay. And the election's on November 2nd, right?
That is correct.
So does SB 202 require that early voting ends the week prior, or does it end on the 29th?
It ends on the 29th, Friday the 29th. It always ends on the Friday.
Right. Okay. And yeah, Madam Chair, unfortunately, I would like to see this mapped out, and unfortunately, I think we might have to have a special meeting to sort this out. Director, when do you need the information? When do you need us to make a decision?
The last day for me to submit information to the Secretary of State's office for advanced voting is on September the 27th. Monday, September 27th.
Okay. Madam Chair, could we call a special meeting for this topic prior to the 27th? I'm having my trouble wrapping my head around. I need to see this all and think about it, unfortunately. And I apologize for maybe not bringing it up to the director a little bit sooner than this meeting.
And I usually have that, so I apologize. Y'all know it's been a lot going on.
Well, we can all just point fingers in a circle, and then nobody's at fault here. But I don't know procedurally what to do. If we want to just go ahead and schedule that special meeting while we're all together and
we
just
can
get on the calendar.
Do that, and
Okay.
We can certainly do that, and it probably would be more appropriate because we're losing time even as we speak.
Yes. I am serving on the T-Splosh committee, so my evenings are very tight and limited.
Mm-hmm.
Could you offer some suggestions for dates?
I would suggest that all of us offer some suggestions for dates.
Director, could you have this done by this Friday? In a couple days? If we had a meeting on Friday?
I think you're muted. Sorry.
I can have it ready for you probably by the end of the day, before I leave here today.
Okay, I mean, you don't need to do that. But tomorrow is fine, but if we had a meeting on Friday afternoon, it sucks to have meetings on Friday. I don't want to do that either. But we do that? Or or next Tuesday.
Other members other members, could you weigh in on some dates? As I look at my calendar, except for the even on the 22nd, I have free time, and on the and I'm sure we wouldn't be doing it as early as Thursday of this week. So I do have some things going on that date, and then too that's the meeting date for the forum. So we have like the 17th, and try not to go past Tuesday of next week. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean the Tuesday might work for me too, I think.
Madam Chair, I know that if we would like to have the attorney's office present, my understanding from past times of scheduling meetings, the mayor and commission have an agenda setting meeting, but I don't know if Attorney Pappas can make, now that we're more fully staffed, I don't know if that would be a conflict for the attorney's office.
Yeah, I can't speak to her personally. I know she won't be required to be at the agenda setting meeting. But I don't know the rest of her schedule offhand.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as personally, if that were not a conflict, the 21st is good for me.
It's good for me too. How about you, Hank?
Yeah, I'll work around your schedules, so no issue.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me too. No, that works for me too. The 21st. Could we? Oh no, Adam, you can't make it until 4:30, right?
Correct.
4:30. Yeah.
Okay. 4:30 on the 21st.
Since that's the only item that's going to be on the special meeting, then I think that we can get it done fairly quickly.
Okay.
Because we're going to have the information. Director Sosby is going to get us that information, so we'll have it beforehand. So it's just a matter of going in and doing what we need to do.
Okay.
So within number 6, we can do a motion to do a special meeting within that agenda item. We can go in and make a motion to do a special meeting on the 21st at 4:30 p.m. And so that, I think if we could do that today, then everything else is probably going to fall into place for us.
I have one other point I'd like to discuss if it is a possibility. I noticed that Lisa had just sent us the draft of the information to be sent out to the police officers. I think that gives us more than enough time this weekend to look at it and also bring our thoughts and maybe able to vote on it. We are running very short of time for the November election, and I don't want to put any more pressure on the staff and wait for it till October, and then they will just have a couple of weeks in case there is some changes we need to make. So would it be appropriate to discuss that on Tuesday, next Tuesday?
It probably would, but I don't think it's appropriate while we're discussing agenda item number 6 to go into that particular item right now until we finish up the business on this one. And we can decide what we want to put on the. If we're going to do 2 items, we can decide those 2 items to go on the agenda. I don't know. Our next meeting is October the 12th, and the election is November the 2nd. So yeah, that might be a good idea. Any thoughts on that?
Madam Chair, I'm in favor of of course, like you said, we can set the agenda later as a separate conversation. But if I heard Lisa correctly, the staff was hoping to maybe have whatever we were going to have ready for the May primary next year. So that would be, I'm sure they would appreciate having getting to do a test run of the first draft or whatever. But that would be more than what they were, I guess, originally planning for.
Yeah, exactly. So there's not any immediate concerns that the information would be for the May primary.
Okay,
If I'm
that's
saying that
fine.
properly. If I'm saying that properly, yeah. So we'll just lay off on that conversation and go back to the conversation on the meeting for the early voting, opening up the early voting places, and put that as our agenda item for that meeting, that special meeting on September the 21st. Can I have a motion on that?
I will move. Sorry, Rocky, go ahead.
So moved.
Can you shape that up, Secretary Shirley? Can you shape that up into a motion for us?
Yes, ma'am.
That,
I would. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I keep doing that tonight. I'm so sorry. I will
okay.
second the motion by Mr. Raffle to call a special meeting for Tuesday, September 21st at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. That's great. All those in favor, would you please signify by saying aye or raising your hand, preferably aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the 4 members that are present have have agreed to the meeting, and so I won't even ask for the question on those that are against. But so we will be having the meeting September the 21st at 4:30, a special meeting, and Adam and I will, since we're only having one thing on the agenda, Adam usually gets, once he and I talk, he usually gets with Aletha so she can get that information out in a timely manner to notify the public of this special meeting.
I have one small question real quick, Madam Chair.
Sure.
I was curious, and I'm sorry if there's background noise, y'all. I was wondering, Rocky, if it might help you. It would help me, certainly, if we could ask, if Director Sosby could ask the Geospatial Information Office to have just a simple map available for us of where these projected locations are so we can visualize what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you were asking me. I don't see a problem in that, but I mean, I know where they are, but maybe some folks do not.
And at least a virtual, like I'm not thinking of a big foam core poster on the wall, just some way we can pull up something, a PDF or a map or something to see where these things are. So
yeah, I can make one on Google Maps real quick too, but if they have the tools to do it faster, that's fine too.
I hope you don't mind if I interject. That's a cool idea, but they're at the same places that they've been for the last several elections. Nothing's changed.
awesome.
Yeah.
So,
We have an old one in the back somewhere we can pull up and look at.
possibly. I'm just saying, if you were for the last election, they're at the same location, so nothing's changed.
Yeah. And I think if just the addresses were provided, are we all familiar with Athens-Clarke County? If the
Are y'all talking about the advanced voting sites, right?
Yeah.
So on the list that I'm gonna give you that has the dates, the locations and times, I'll have the addresses on there. But I believe on our website, the county website, I believe there is a tab on the map for GIS for election sites. I believe there is an advanced voting location map already on our website.
Okay.
If it's not, we should have one, and I'll get with GIS to have that put on there if it's not.
Yeah. And I think those are good selections because it you know, it's spread out pretty much in areas that, you know, people go by or pass through on their, you know, daily routines.
Madam Chair, I found it. Yep. Director Osby, you're absolutely right. There it sits. I can see it now. Thank you. Never mind.
So we've resolved the item number 6, that we're going to have that special meeting, and Adam and I will get with Aletha and make sure it goes forth. And Director Sosby, tomorrow or sometime before the 21st, she's going to send that information. So if we can move forward to the announcements, if anyone doesn't have any more discussion on that. Okay. Announcement. Number 1, Political Parties Education Forum. A will be Thursday, September the 16th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Snipes Water Resource Center Conference Room, 780 Barber Street. And all are welcome that can fit within the confines of our COVID mandates. Excuse me. My voice is trying to leave me. And number 2, October regular meeting will be Tuesday, October the 12th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. And our special meeting will be Tuesday, September the 21st at 4:30 p.m. And so I will entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
I so move.
And I have a second.
Second.
Y'all don't want to leave. Okay, so all those in favor say aye, and I think it's unanimous. So we are adjourned, and thank everybody, and thank the public for attending, and you guys have a blessed night.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.